Have you ever bought a watch and then sold it before you truly understood it? Well, I have, and here's why. Yes! Welcome to the Mad Watch Collector Show. Now listen, back in 2018, I purchased the full metal square. Yes! And I wore it for a couple of months, didn't get on with it, and then stuck it on eBay. Now you have to understand, I was a different person back then. I was naive, I was young, I had no clue about G-Shocks. I just thought they were worn by, meatheads.
Come on, give me a big watch.
I was happy going along life with my vintage Casios, my A158, my A168. I had no idea about Kiko Ibe and the innovations, the struggles, and the amount of prototypes made to come up with the G-Shock. I've only got a 6.5-inch wrist. I had not yet understood the meaning of the G. Fast forward to 2020, I purchased one of my favourite Casios of all time now, the GMW-B5000D-1ER, the G-Shock with the closest likeness to that very first one back in 1983. Since 2020, I have embraced G-Shocks. I understand now that they're supposed to be big,
due to their protectiveness.
And I have now become a G-Shock nerd and own several other G-Shocks in my Casio collection. Anyway, on Instagram, I would come across a few pictures of the full metal square and it would just fill me with this bubbling Casio regret. So for the first time in my watch collecting career, I repurchased the same watch. And I've got to be honest, now I have owned it for the second time, there's no way I'm selling this one. Now what's the difference between the GMW-5000 and the DW-5610? And do I think you should buy one of these? Also, wait for the end. My wife's got some very special first impressions on this G-Shock. Pretty blunt, to be honest. Are you fully metal G-Shock ready? Let's go! So here it is, the GMW-5000D in all its glory. And look at this thing, isn't it beautiful? When you see this thing in the metal for the first time, you don't think of toughness, the G-Shock.
Look,
One thing I did notice the first time round as well as now is how good the finishing is on this stainless steel case and bracelet. Amazing vertical brushing on the bezel and with that contrasting polished finish on the rest of the top face. This thing looks like a T1000 or something. The sides are a mixture of brushing and polishing, really fine attention to detail, which I love. The 4 pushers are stainless steel also, and it is basically the exact copy of the DW-5000 from '83. Look at the brick pattern on that screen, something we haven't had since that initial release. I love the fact that Casio didn't use a lot of colours on this screen, basically to let the case do all the talking. Anyway, overall, second impressions, I'm so glad I got another one. Now this watch, which I rebought from Francis & Gay Jewellers, costed £450, and a lot of you are not going to be happy when I say that the screen is protected by a mineral glass. Apparently, Casio, this is by their design. The mineral glass will not shatter like the sapphire would, but where you would take this pretty little shiny thing to get beaten up like that, I don't know. What I have to talk about is the case back of this thing, because oh, for would you be quiet, dear, please? I have to focus. I have to be in a zen state. I'm about to review a Casio. And welcome to another edition of the Design House, where we take a look at a watch's case back. And today, we take a look at a Casio. So no cogs and wheels, probably not a lot else, but still, it's a watch, and let's take a look. Ooh, well, it's not like I thought it would be. We have a screw down case back. And apparently this has been DLC coated, which is again very nice. If you didn't know already, the watch tells you that this is shock resistant, and we have enough text on the back here to compete with your basic university exam. But I must say I'm pleasantly surprised, even though it is a Casio. That's it from me, and I'll see you for another episode of the Design House. Cut. Right, where's a watch? I need to see a display case back.
Could you just click that like button, please? It really helps the channel. Thank you.
Onto the bracelet, and it is very well made, well machined, well finished, and unlike anything else I own. It's about a 26 to 18 millimeter taper at the clasp. The links are fully stainless steel, solid, and are actually held together by these very tiny spring bars. Very easy to remove, and I had no problems resizing this for my wrist. We've got a stainless steel milled clasp, push button release, and we do have 4 micro adjusts. All in all, the exterior of this thing is beautiful. Super. Right, let's look at the face.
Dial time.
And I've got to say, I love it. And anything that this Casio can do, it tells you on the front of the face. It's a tough solar.
It's solar powered.
It has shock resist.
There's the G-Shock in it for you.
It has Bluetooth and multi-band 6. Bluetooth meaning that this watch can connect to your phone. And you can set all manner of things on it, including the time, the date, the world times, the alarms, and you can also set reminders. If this is the first time you've ever seen multi-band 6 on a watch, well, there are 6 antennas across the world booming out radioactive waves.
No, I doubt they're that harmful.
Sending out signals of accurate time. This watch grabs that signal, smashes it into the watch, and corrects the time if it's not correct already. Right, let's look at the mode, shall we? Okay, first of all, this is the time screen. We've got the day in the top left. We've got the month and the day on the right. You can change the date format if you wish. At the bottom of the screen, we got the time. Push the mode button at the bottom left, and we get our world time. And instead of scrolling through, I don't know, 60 countries, I can have 5 program times in here at the click of a button. Now, as I never use a world time, it's pretty pointless, but cool if I need it. The next mode is the alarm, and I have 5 alarms, one being a snooze alarm. The next mode is my favoritist mode of all, the stopwatch. And if you look in the top right corner, the time is displayed. Very handy. It's a 24-hour stopwatch, as well as the countdown timer is 24 hours. And then you're back to the home screen. I told you about the atomic clock. Now, if you manually push down the bottom right pusher, you can activate an atomic grabbing signal yourself, which is pretty cool, isn't it? Obviously, this Casio G-Shock would not be anything without a good backlight. Check out this LED. A brilliant frosty white. I do love the colour of that. It goes perfectly well with this metal case.
Hello.
On my 6.5-inch wrist, and this thing does look a little big, doesn't it? But like I've said, don't worry, embrace the bigness. G-Shocks are not subtle. They're not really meant to hug under a cuff. The actual face of the watch fits absolutely perfectly. But one of the reasons why I sold this in the first place is because of those first end links. Take a look at the profile. There is no give to these bad boys. See how they come out from the case? They don't come down. So that on my wrist, there's a bit of a gap there. And to be honest, you'd have to have a wrist size of about 7.5 inches to not notice a gap there. I just wish those first end links came down a bit more.
Silly, stupid little twig wrists.
So there's the nice quick review of the GMW-5000. I have rebought this bad boy. Now let's compare it with my favoritist G-Shock of all, the 5610. The resin one is only 50 grams, if that. With every link attached to this watch, we are talking 160 grams. So it is very heavy. Therefore, it probably wouldn't be practical using this one in a sporting environment, say a marathon or a 100-meter sprint. This thing would definitely weigh you down. Now, the one thing you do notice when you look at these two watches head on is how much clearer the full metal is compared to the 5610. Well, the GMW uses an STN display. Yeah, not your everyday LCD. This is a super twisted pneumatic screen, which gives you a much stronger contrast when looking at this bad boy in all angles. Now, I have to say that is a supreme upgrade. It's not as good as your MIP screen, your memory in pixel, like the GBD200 I own.
I mean, that thing's like a billboard on your wrist.
But I have to admit, this is the clearest LCD display I have seen. Both of these watches are solar powered. However, if you look at the bottom right of the screens, you'll notice there is no power indicator on the full metal. Being G-Shocks, both watches are 200 meters water resistant, can be thrown from quite a tall building and still be fine. Although I'm not sure I want to drop this one. It's too pretty. And that's the slight problem with a polished stainless steel case. A G-Shock is for bashing. And so where this G-Shock falls in your wearability scale will be completely different with everyone. I have worn this watch to work, but I do feel it is a little bit heavy for a sports watch. So, £450 or just over 100. And now we come back full circle, ladies and gentlemen, because the reason why I sold this watch in the first place was because I was not a G-Shock fan at the time. Only if you love G-Shocks already, appreciate their heritage and the innovations that G-Shock has brought us through the years, would you pay £450 for one of these. If you're only just getting started into the world of G-Shocks, then you'll probably want one of these first. That's the way I should have done it, and I didn't. Do I recommend this GMW-5000? Oh, hell yes.
Try selling that to my wife.
Here it is, my wife's first impressions. Well, I say first impressions, she did see the first one I bought, but she didn't see it for very long. Of the GMW-5000, here we go. I don't like it. It's too blingy. There's too much metal going on. How much did you spend? So not as excited as I hoped, but give her time. Today's shot comes from Clapshane Ruffer. I do apologise if I've murdered that name. But look at this shot of the GOAT, the F91W in a beating habitat at what looks to be a damp, dingy, fun festival outing. By the looks of this gentleman's wrist, he goes to a fair few festivals, and what better beater to take with you and to not be bothered about how much beer you spill on it, don't care if you damage it, than the F91W. Thank you so much for tagging me in, my friend. If you'd like to be on the next Casio Corner, all you gotta do, find me on Instagram here and tag me in on one of your Casio posts, because who knows, next time the star of the show could be you. Thank you so much for watching to the end of this show. It means so much to me, and if you like it that much, why don't you join? And if you're new to the Mad Watch Collector channel, why don't you check out this show? This is a great one. I'll see you over there in a minute.